Karen stormed into the sleek, modern gym, her face twisted in an entitled scowl. She marched straight up to the front desk, demanding to speak to the manager. The poor college-age receptionist cowered under her piercing gaze. "I want that incompetent trainer fired immediately," Karen screeched, slamming her manicured hand on the counter. "He had the audacity to correct my form in front of everyone." The receptionist stammered, taken aback by Karen's aggressive outburst. I'm sorry, ma'am. What seems to be the problem?" "The problem?" Karen sneered, her eyes narrowing. "The problem is that your pathetic excuse for a trainer had the nerve to tell me, a paying member, that I was doing an exercise wrong. In front of everyone. Do you have any idea who I am?" The receptionist shrank back, suddenly aware of the growing crowd of gym-goers watching the spectacle unfold. I'm not sure, ma'am. Let me get the manager for you." As the trembling receptionist scurried away, Karen turned to the onlookers, flashing them a triumphant smirk. "That's right, all of you. This gym is about to get rid of that incompetent fool, and it's all thanks to me." The crowd murmured in disbelief, exchanging bewildered glances. Some shook their heads in disgust, while others fidgeted uncomfortably, unsure of how to respond to Karen's entitled display. Moments later, the manager, a middle-aged man with a weary expression, approached Karen. "How can I help you today, ma'am?" "Help me?" Karen scoffed. "You can start by firing that pathetic excuse for a trainer immediately. He had the audacity to correct my form in front of everyone, and I will not stand for it." The manager raised a placating hand. "I understand you're upset, but I'm afraid I can't just fire someone based on your demand. Could you perhaps explain what happened?" Karen's face flushed with indignation. "Explain? I already told you. That incompetent fool had the nerve to tell me, a paying member, that I was doing exercise wrong. In front of everyone. Do you have any idea who I am?" The manager sighed, resisting the urge to roll his eyes. "I'm afraid I don't, ma'am. But I'd be happy to look into the incident and see if there's a way we can resolve this amicably." "Amicably?" Karen's voice rose to a shrill pitch. "There's nothing to resolve. I want him fired, and I want it done now." The crowd around them grew increasingly restless, some members shaking their heads in disapproval. The manager, sensing the tension in the air, tried to defuse the situation. "Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but I can't simply terminate an employee based on your demand. Let me speak to the trainer and get his side of the story. If there was a misunderstanding, I'm sure we can find a way to address it." Karen's nostrils flared with rage. "Misunderstanding? There's no misunderstanding. He embarrassed me in front of everyone, and I won't stand for it. Now, either you fire him, or I'll make sure this gym never sees another customer again." The manager's face fell, realizing he was dealing with an impossible situation. As he reluctantly turned to fetch the trainer, the crowd erupted in a chorus of murmurs and disapproving glances, setting the stage for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the gym. As the manager approached the training area, he found the young, bespectacled trainer, Alex, leading the group through a high-intensity circuit workout. Alex's face was flushed with exertion, but his expression was one of calm focus as he guided his clients through each exercise with precision and encouragement. The manager hesitated for a moment, reluctant to interrupt the session, but he knew he had to address the situation with Karen. Clearing his throat, he called out to Alex, "Excuse me, Alex, could I have a word with you?" Alex paused the workout, his brow furrowing with concern. "Of course, what's going on?" The manager glanced around at the curious onlookers before speaking in a low voice. "We have a bit of a situation. One of our members, Karen, has demanded that you be fired immediately." Alex's eyes widened in surprise. "Fired? What did I do?" "Apparently, she claims you corrected her form in front of everyone, and she's quite upset about it," the manager explained, visibly uncomfortable. Alex's expression shifted from bewilderment to understanding. I see. Well, I can assure you that I was simply trying to provide guidance to ensure the safety and efficacy of her workout. I didn't mean to embarrass her in any way. The manager nodded, his features etched with concern. I know, Alex, and I believe you. But Karen is adamant, and she's threatening to make sure this gym never sees another customer if I don't terminate you. Alex's brow furrowed, and he glanced back at his clients, who were now watching the exchange with growing unease. I understand the gravity of the situation, but I can't just accept being fired without at least trying to explain my side of the story. This gym and its members mean a great deal to me. The manager sighed heavily. I know, Alex, and I don't want to lose you. You're one of our best trainers, and the members love you. But Karen is well, she's a very persistent and influential member. I'm not sure there's much I can do. Alex nodded solemnly, his eyes reflecting a mixture of disappointment and resolve. Then I suppose I'll have to speak with her directly and try to resolve this. The manager placed a hand on Alex's shoulder, his expression sympathetic. I'm sorry, Alex. I'll do my best to mediate the situation, but I can't make any promises. Just be prepared for the worst, okay? With a heavy heart, Alex watched as the manager returned to the front desk, where a fuming Karen was waiting. As he gathered his thoughts, Alex couldn't help but wonder how this unfolding situation would affect not only his career, but the members he had come to consider his extended family. As the manager approached Karen, he could feel the tension in the air thickening. The crowd of gym-goers had grown larger, with more members gathering to witness the unfolding drama. Ma'am, I've spoken with the trainer, Alex, and he assured me that he was simply trying to provide guidance to ensure your safety and the effectiveness of your workout. He meant no disrespect, the manager explained, his tone diplomatic yet firm. Karen's eyes narrowed to slits, her lips curling into a sneer. I don't care what his intent was. The fact is, he embarrassed me in front of everyone, and that is unacceptable. I demand that he be fired immediately, or else. The manager held up a hand, trying to placate the irate woman. I understand your frustration, but firing him over this incident would be an overreaction. Perhaps we cooled. Overreaction. Karen scoffed, cutting him off. This is my gym, and I will not tolerate such incompetence from your staff. Now, either you fire him, or I'll make sure this entire establishment shuts down for good. The crowd around them erupted in a chorus of murmurs and disapproving glances. Some members shook their heads in disbelief, while others shot Karen looks of disgust. At that moment, Alex emerged from the training area, his expression resolute. Excuse me, ma'am, if I may have a word. Karen whirled around, her eyes flashing with rage. You! How dare you show your face after what you've done? Alex held up his hands in a placating gesture. I understand you're upset, but I can assure you that I was simply trying to provide helpful guidance, not embarrass you. My intention was to ensure your safety and the effectiveness of your workout. Karen's face flushed with indignation. Safety. Effectiveness? Don't give me that nonsense. You had no right to correct me in front of everyone. Do you have any idea who I am? Alex took a deep breath, his voice calm and measured. Ma'am, I'm afraid I don't know who you are, but I know that I'm a dedicated trainer who cares deeply about the well-being of all our members. I would never intentionally embarrass or disrespect anyone. Karen's nostrils flared, and she opened her mouth to unleash another tirade, but the manager stepped in, placing a hand on her arm. Ma'am, please, let's try to resolve this in a civil manner. I'm sure we can find a way to address your concerns without resorting to drastic measures. Karen jerked her arm away, her eyes blazing with fury. Civil? You want me to be civil? This gym is finished if you don't fire him right now. The crowd around them erupted in murmurs and disapproving mutters, with several members shaking their heads in disgust. The tension in the air was palpable, and it was clear that Karen's entitled behavior was quickly alienating the very people she expected to side with her. As the confrontation escalated, the stage was set for a decisive showdown that would not only test the limits of Karen's power, but also the resolve of the gym's dedicated community. As Karen continued to demand Alex's immediate termination, the crowd of gym goers grew increasingly restless. The manager, caught in the middle of the volatile situation, tried in vain to de-escalate the confrontation, but Karen's unwavering determination and sense of entitlement proved too much to overcome. Sensing the rising tension, Alex stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. "Ma'am, I understand that you're upset, but I can assure you that I had no intention of embarrassing you. My job as a trainer is to ensure the safety and effectiveness of our members' workouts, and that's all I was trying to do." Karen's eyes narrowed, and she scoffed in disdain. "Safety and effectiveness? Don't give me that nonsense. You had no right to correct me in front of everyone. I am a paying member, and I demand to be treated with the utmost respect." The crowd around them erupted in a chorus of disapproving murmurs, with several members shaking their heads in disgust. One particularly vocal member, a middle-aged woman named Lisa, stepped forward, her brow furrowed with indignation. "Excuse me, but I don't think it's right for you to demand that Alex be fired simply because he was trying to help you. We're all here to better ourselves, and sometimes that means accepting constructive criticism, even if it's in front of others." Karen's gaze snapped to Lisa, her lips twisting into a contemptuous sneer. "Mind your own business, you insignificant little troll. This has nothing to do with you." Lisa's eyes widened, and she recoiled as if struck. "Insignificant? How dare you? This gym is a community, and we all deserve to be treated with respect, regardless of who we are." The crowd erupted in a chorus of approving murmurs, and suddenly, more members began to step forward, their faces etched with determination. "She's right. You know." A young man named Jamal chimed in, his voice firm. "Alex is one of the best trainers here, and we won't stand for you getting him fired just because you can't handle a little constructive feedback." Karen's face flushed with outrage, and she whirled around to face the manager, her fingers twitching with barely contained rage. "You see, this is exactly why he needs to be fired. These people are clearly too incompetent to understand the importance of proper form and technique. I demand that you take action immediately, or I'll make sure this gym never sees another customer again." The manager, sensing the growing unrest among the members, held up his hands in a placating gesture. "Ma'am, I understand your concerns, but I'm afraid I can't simply fire Alex based on your demands. He's a valuable member of our team, and the majority of our members seem to be in support of him." Karen's eyes widened, and her mouth hung open in disbelief. "The majority? Are you seriously siding with these peasants over me?" The crowd erupted in a chorus of outraged cries, and suddenly, the gym felt like a powder keg just waiting to explode. The air was thick with tension, and it was clear that Karen's entitled behavior had finally pushed the members to their breaking point. The gym had become a battlefield, with Karen's entitled demands pitted against the growing outrage of the members. As the manager tried in vain to defuse the situation, the crowd erupted in a chorus of defiant cries. "We won't let you fire Alex," shouted Lisa, her voice ringing out above the din. "Yeah, he's the best trainer we've got," Jamal chimed in, his arms crossed defiantly over his chest. Karen's face twisted with rage, her eyes darting around the room as she sought the support she had been so certain would be there. But to her dismay, the crowd was firmly in Alex's corner, and the tide was turning against her. "This is unacceptable," she shrieked, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. "I'm the one who pays your salaries, and I demand that you fire this incompetent fool immediately." The manager held up his hands, attempting to placate the irate woman. "Ma'am, I understand your concerns, but the majority of our members seem to be in support of Alex. I can't simply ignore their wishes and terminate him based on your demands." Karen's lips curled into a snarl, and she turned to the crowd, her gaze sweeping over them with a mixture of contempt and desperation. "You all think you're so clever, don't you? Well, let me tell you something. This gym is nothing without me and the other elite members who keep this place afloat. If you don't fire that pathetic excuse for a trainer, I'll make sure you all lose your jobs." The crowd erupted in a chorus of outraged cries, and suddenly, a wave of defiance swept through the gym. One by one, members began to step forward, their faces etched with determination. "If you fire Alex, we'll all quit," Lisa shouted, her fists clenched at her sides. "Yeah, we're not going to stand for your entitled behavior anymore," Jamal added, his voice dripping with disdain. Karen's eyes widened, and for a moment, she seemed to falter, the reality of the situation finally sinking in. But just as quickly, her expression hardened, and she turned to the manager, her voice trembling with barely contained rage. "You can't let them do this. I'm the one who keeps this place in business, and if you don't fire that incompetent fool, I'll see to it that this gym is shut down for good." The manager's face fell, and he glanced around the room, his gaze meeting the resolute stares of the members. He knew that giving in to Karen's demands would not only cost him a valuable employee, but it would also alienate the very people who made this gym what it was. Steeling himself, the manager straightened his shoulders and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't fire Alex. The majority of our members have made it clear that they support him, and I won't go against their wishes." Karen's face contorted with fury, and for a moment, it seemed as if she might lash out physically. But before she could act, the gym erupted in a thunderous ovation, with members cheering and clapping in support of the manager's decision. As the roar of the crowd echoed through the halls, Karen stood there, seething with impotent rage, realizing that her power and influence had finally been broken by the collective will of the very people she had sought to control. The gym was alive with energy as the members celebrated their victory over Karen's entitled demands. Chants of "Alex, Alex" filled the air, and the young trainer himself stood in the middle of the cheering crowd, his expression a mix of relief and gratitude. Karen, however, was not about to go down without a fight. Her face twisted into a mask of pure rage as she glared at the manager, her manicured fingers curling into tight fists. "You'll regret this," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "I'll make sure this gym is shut down for good. You have no idea who you're dealing with." The manager held up a hand, his own expression steely. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the decision has been made. The majority of our members have spoken, and they've made it clear that they support Alex. I won't go against their wishes." Karen's nostrils flared, and for a moment, it seemed as if she might lunge at the manager. But before she could act, Lisa stepped forward, her eyes narrowed in defiance. "You heard the man, Karen. This gym is for all of us, not just for the privileged few who think they can buy their way to special treatment. If you can't accept that, then you're welcome to take your business elsewhere." A chorus of cheers and applause erupted from the crowd, and Karen's face flushed with humiliation. She glanced around the gym, her gaze meeting the triumphant stares of the members, and she knew that she had been defeated. Seething with rage, Karen spun on her heel and stormed out of the gym, the slam of the door echoing through the hall. As the members watched her go, a sense of relief and satisfaction washed over them, but they knew that the battle was far from over. In the days that followed, word of Karen's entitled behavior and the members' revolt spread like wildfire. Local news outlets picked up the story, and soon, the gym was inundated with a flood of calls and messages from potential new members who were drawn to the idea of a community that stood up to such blatant entitlement. But with the newfound attention came its own set of challenges. The gym's management was suddenly faced with the task of managing the influx of new members, as well as maintaining the delicate balance between catering to the needs of the existing community and welcoming newcomers. Alex, for his part, found himself thrust into the spotlight, with members seeking him out for advice and guidance. His popularity soared, and he became a beacon of hope for those who had grown weary of the entitled attitudes that had once permeated the gym. As the dust settled, the members of the gym found themselves united in a common cause: to preserve the integrity of their community and to ensure that no one, no matter how wealthy or influential, would be allowed to trample on their collective well-being. The fallout from Karen's failed attempt to get Alex fired had far-reaching consequences. Word of the gym's stand against her entitled behavior quickly spread, and suddenly, the small, unassuming fitness center found itself at the center of a national media frenzy. Local news outlets covered the story, painting the gym's members as champions of the common people, standing up to the tyranny of the wealthy elite. Social media was alight with praise and support for the gym, with thousands of people sharing the story and vowing to support the establishment. But Karen was not one to take her defeat lying down. Seething with rage and humiliation, she set out to exact her revenge, determined to bring the gym to its knees. First, she launched a scathing social media campaign, flooding the gym's online presence with scathing reviews and accusations of mismanagement, incompetence, and discrimination. She claimed that the gym had unfairly targeted her due to her wealth and status, and that the members who had rallied against her were nothing more than jealous, resentful plebeians. The gym's management team scrambled to respond, issuing statements and attempting to counter the negative publicity, but Karen's relentless onslaught proved too much to handle. Soon, potential new members began to steer clear of the gym, wary of the controversy swirling around it. Undeterred, Karen then turned her sights on the gym's financial partners, threatening to withhold her own substantial business from any companies that continued to support the establishment. She leveraged her considerable influence and connections to pressure suppliers, vendors, and even landlords, all in a bid to cripple the gym's operations. The once thriving fitness center found itself in a precarious position, its future hanging in the balance as Karen's campaign of retribution continued unabated. The members, who had once felt empowered and united, now found themselves facing the very real possibility of losing the place they had come to cherish. As the pressure mounted, the gym's management team was forced to make difficult decisions. They had to weigh the needs of the community against the harsh realities of the business world, knowing that a single misstep could spell the end of the gym they had worked so hard to build. The members, for their part, refused to give up without a fight. They rallied together, organizing fundraisers, petitions, and even a grassroots marketing campaign to counter Karen's attacks and rally support from the broader public. But as the battle raged on, the gym's very survival hung in the balance, leaving everyone to wonder if their hard-won victory would ultimately be snatched away. The gym's battle against Karen's relentless campaign of retribution had taken a severe toll. The once thriving fitness center found itself teetering on the brink of collapse, its financial future hanging by a thread as Karen's influence and connections continued to work against it. The management team had done their best to weather the storm, but the constant pressure of defending the gym against Karen's attacks, coupled with the loss of critical business partnerships and the dwindling membership numbers, had stretched them to their limits. Alex, the beloved trainer whose confrontation with Karen had sparked the entire ordeal, found himself at the center of the maelstrom. His popularity had soared in the wake of the members' revolt, but the stress of the ongoing battle had taken a heavy toll on his mental and physical well-being. Despite the gym's precarious situation, the members remained steadfast in their support, rallying together to organize fundraisers, petition drives, and grassroots marketing campaigns. They were determined to save the place they had come to love, even if it meant going head-to-head with the wealthy and influential Karen. As the battle raged on, the gym's leadership was forced to make a difficult decision. They could either continue to fight against Karen's relentless onslaught, risking the very existence of the gym, or they could concede defeat and accept the reality of their situation. After much deliberation, the management team made the heartbreaking decision to close the gym's doors. The announcement was met with a wave of shock and grief from the members, who had poured their hearts and souls into building this community. But even in the midst of their sorrow, the members refused to let their efforts go to waste. They banded together, pooling their resources and expertise, and set out to establish a new gym, one that would be built on the principles of inclusivity, community, and a steadfast refusal to bow to the demands of the entitled elite. As the doors of the old gym closed for the final time, the members looked to the future with a mixture of sadness and determination. They knew that the battle with Karen was far from over, but they were now better equipped to face the challenges that lay ahead. In the end, the gym's story had become a symbol of the power of collective action, a testament to the idea that even the mightiest of opponents can be brought down by the unified strength of a community that refuses to be silenced. And as the members embarked on their new journey, they did so with the knowledge that their hard-won victory, though bittersweet, would continue to inspire and empower others to stand up against the forces of entitlement and injustice.